The Sweet Struggle of Milton Hershey. On September 13, 1857, in the quiet town of Derry Township, Pennsylvania, a boy entered the world who would one day sweeten the world. His early life was anything but sweet. His parents, Henry and Fanny Hershey, were poor farmers. Henry was a dreamer, chasing the next big thing, from oil boom to silver rushes, but always failing. After selling the farm to dig for oil and coming up dry, the family fell into poverty. Eventually, Hershey's uncle gave them a farm to live on in Lancaster, hoping to offer stability. But tragedy struck. Milton's younger sister, Serena, died from scarlet fever during a brutal winter. His father later abandoned the family, leaving Milton and his mother to fend for themselves. But by the age of 14, Milton took a job in a candy store. He wasn't allowed to make candy, only take orders. His mother offered to pay the owner if he teaches Milton the craft. He soon fell in love with the candy making. In 1875, at just 18 years old, Milton opened his first shop in Philadelphia with $100 loan from his uncles. Business boomed during the Centennial Exposition. When the fair ended and sugar prices rose, the shop failed. He was forced to declare bankruptcy. Out of options, Milton followed his father to Leadville, Colorado, chasing another silver rush. But the boom had already ended once they arrived. Instead, he took a job in a local candy store that made soft, creamy caramels using fresh milk. He mastered the recipe and returned east to try again. He opened his new shop in New York City. When he asked his uncles for another loan, he was harshly rejected. Still, that rejection only fueled his dedication. Despite being rejected by his uncles, his Aunt Mattie took a pity on him and lent him enough money to try again. He moved to New York City, got a job in Haller's candy store, and learned about the local supplies and customer references. By 1884, he opened his second shop, selling Denver-style caramels. Business quickly picked up, and New Yorkers were hooked on his Denver-style caramels. Encouraged by the success, his father pushed him to sell cough drops too, but competing with an established brand like Smith Brothers cough drops proved disastrous. Sales fell and debts rose. By 1886, Milton had to declare bankruptcy again. He returned to Lancaster, determined to focus solely on caramels. But once again, his uncles refused to help, calling him just like his father. With nowhere else to go, Milton turned to his former accountant, William Lipkicker, who believed in him and offered a small loan. Using the leftover supplies, he started selling caramels on the streets of Lancaster with a hand basket. Customers loved the fresh milk-based recipe, and slowly sales grew. Then he reinvested every cent into a push cart and then a small working space. Seeing his determination, his Aunt Mattie changed her mind and lent him $700 only if he repays it in 90 days. Time passed and the business struggled again. Then a British importer tasted his caramels and was impressed. He placed a large order, But Milton could not afford to fulfill it. Desperate, he went to the bank. The officer declined the loan until he visited Milton's tiny shop and saw what he was doing. The officer personally guaranteed $1,000 loan. Milton shifted the order and waited. Days passed with no word. Finally, a letter arrived. Payment of 500 British pounds, worth over $65,000 today. He was saved. With that, Milton Crystal A caramels took off, especially in Europe. By 1894, he had built several factories, employed thousands, and was earning $1 million a year. With a solid business and trusted team, Milton had time to explore new ideas. In 1893, Columbian Exposition in Chicago, he came across something that would change his life. At a time when chocolate was luxury few could afford, an engineer named Lehman revolutionized industry by creating a chocolate-making machine that made chocolate production accessible. Milton Hershey saw the opportunity, made a deal, and bought the machine. Once he had the technology, he threw himself into making sweet chocolate, baking chocolate, and other cocoa products. Using the same dedication he had with his caramel, he focused on fresh ingredients, and people loved it. Chocolate sales boomed in Europe and starting to impact his caramel business. Then came the bold move. Milton sold his entire caramel business for over $1 million, betting everything on chocolate. He built a massive factory with advanced machinery to learn industry secrets. He sent some of his trusted employees, some over the sea, to learn the European method of chocolatiers, especially the Swiss. Most came empty-handed. Meanwhile, corruption in Lancaster drove Milton to purchase over 1,200 acres of farmland in Derry Church and began building a town for his factory workers. By 1903, despite the progress, he still hadn't cracked the code of milk chocolate. That changed when a former caramel employee, Johnny, discovered to warm and condense the milk without burning it. That produced sweet, mildly sour chocolate that could be stored for months without using powder milk. Milton Hershey's story shows us no matter the odds, no matter the failures, never gave up. Thank you.